Hello everyone and welcome back to this part 2 of the road to 2000 rapid chess rating in chess.com. So let's just get straight to it and start our first game. All right, so we have Jack Daniels. It's one of my favorite names of the entire planet Earth. So, okay, our opponent opens with d4 and we go for knight to f6. And here we have this move, knight to c3. And if I'm not mistaken, the main person that plays that move is Jobava. So it should not be called a Chigorin variation anymore. The name should change to the Jobava variation. So I like what my opponent is doing. He just played the move to g3 and he plans to put his bishop on g2, which will then exert a lot of pressure on my d5 pawn. And of course he can follow that up with some move to e4 in the future. So how can we prevent my opponent from acquiring his so desired setup? Okay, I'm going to strike in the center myself. I want to see what he's going to do. Is he really going to take my pawn on c5? Which would be good for us, since a center pawn will be traded for a wing pawn. And don't ask me what wing pawns are, because I have no clue. I just heard that term. Of course, I'm kidding. Wing pawns are just the pawns that are not the center pawns. That makes sense. Okay. All right, so my opponent is still thinking. And I always get scared when they think too much. I get very scared. Okay, so let's develop an attack at the same time. If he takes here now, which is the move I'm predicting he will do, we'll simply play the move to e6, protect our pawn, and at the same time attack the c5 pawn with our bishop. So a lot of people here will think that they are up this pawn and will try to keep it. But notice that it is very difficult to do so. If b4, simply knight takes. If bishop to e3, we have moves like knight to g4. So it's going to be very hard for our Jack Daniels opponent to keep his pawn on c5. And we're simply going to take it on our next move. And we've built a 1 minute advantage, which is also a big plus in our favor. All right, so how should he continue the game instead? Notice that if bishop e3, d4 doesn't quite work because he has bishop takes knight check first, pawn takes, and then queen takes pawn. So that would not work. So the move I'm planning after bishop to e3 is knight to g4. And then of course he can try to keep the pawn by playing bishop here. But I think I can simply then just go pawn forward, and then I'll be winning the game. But all right, I'm getting ahead of myself, and I honestly have no idea what my opponent is going to play. He is taking quite a long think. And that usually means two things. They're going to play a brilliant move, like the one we are seeing right now at the board. So how to play? How do we deal with this move? Okay, I don't like taking here, so let's just push our pawn forward. Let's throw the move back at Jack Daniels. Come on, Jackie, what you got in mind? You talked for 2 minutes, and you're telling me you didn't consider the pawn push? I don't think so. Okay, so we managed to get our pawn back, and we managed to get a pretty strong center as well. So notice that we have 2 pawns in the center compared to just 1 for Jack Daniels. So I think the opening phase has gone in our favor. Now we just need to finish our development. So we need to castle, obviously, put our king to safety. And this move is just weird. This move is just weird. Okay, our opponent decided to resign. He didn't even give me the opportunity to capture his knight. Okay, let's take a quick look at the game report and try to learn something. Always analyze your games. And not bad. 98.5 accuracy. Then again, only like 10 moves were played. So it's kind of hard to go wrong in 10 moves. It was the computer saying it was a great win. You saw your chance and you took it. And indeed, we did. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at the analysis before we move on. So d4, knight to f6, knight c3, d5, g3, not the book move, but a sideline, which is not bad. c5, the best move, striking in the center. Bishop to g2, knight to c6. He took e6. So far, everything is very standard. e4, d4 was the best move. Knight to e2. We took the pawn, although the computer is saying maybe we should have played the pawn to e5 instead. But as you can see on the evaluation bar on the left side, black is already doing quite well. And the computer is giving me a minus 1.02 advantage, which is equivalent to 1 whole pawn. Okay, so after knight to f3, the move to e5 is the best move, solidifying the center. And here our opponent just went absolutely crazy, berserked, and boom, gave us a free knight, which he didn't give us the opportunity to take, and resignation came. Okay, so not much to say here. Not much to say about this game. We, like the computer said, we had an opportunity and we took it. So let's go play game number 4 of this series of Road to 2000. So new 10-minute game. And we're playing Bird Bard from the USA with an 807 rating. Okay, so e4, let's go for my beloved Sicilian. And I gotta say, lately, I've been having some very horrible results. So I need to go back to my notes and see what it is I'm doing wrong. I don't think it's the opening that I'm doing wrong. I'm just getting outplayed by my very strong opponents. Okay, so here we have a standard Sicilian in which my opponent decided to go for the bishop c4 line, putting some pressure on the f7 square, and that's the reason why I pushed my pawn to e6, just to prevent some future shenanigans there. Now, I'm going to play this quiet move a6 with the main idea of playing b5 and c4, trapping my opponent's bishop if he decides to go to b3. So he should play d3 now, and then that way b5, bishop to b3 doesn't run into c4. But okay, so there it goes. My opponent decided to play it, and since that move doesn't work, there's no reason for us to play it anymore. But a6 is often quite useful anyway, so I decided to give it a shot. Okay, my opponent's just developing his pieces quite naturally, and I feel we should be doing something similar. So let's play d6, which is in some ways preventing his pawn from coming to e5. So okay, castling, very natural, and I'm just going to develop my elder knight. Notice how I am keeping my bishops in their original squares for the moment, since I don't quite know where I want to place them yet. I'm still thinking, I'm still debating. I don't know if I want to put it on b7 and e7, or g6 and d7, or g7 and b7. Too many options. And quite often, when I am giving this many options, I choose the wrong ones. Okay, okay, buddy. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do with your pony? Okay, I don't believe in fairy tales, my friend, so I'm just gonna play h6 and just very kindly ask you to move back. Since I don't believe you will be taking either on f7 or e6. So thank you very much. I appreciate you visiting my side of the board, but now go back to your own house. I don't think you understand the fact that we have some virus called COVID going around. I don't want any part of you near me. Okay, so jokes aside, obviously it is a very serious virus and we should take it very, very seriously. Indeed, many people are dying, but the vaccine is out, so hopefully it works. I know it was extremely expedited, but hopefully it works so we can go back to our normal lives. Okay, for the time being, I'm also going to delay my king safety, since I'm also very intrigued into the possibility of castle and queenside. What is happening? My opponent is making some very weird moves, I must say. Okay, I think it's time. I think it's time to go for some b5 and ask him what's going on. He's going to play bishop to b3, of course. And here we're going to follow this up with knight to d4, putting some more pressure on his bishop. Of course, I'm not going to take it. I actually want to keep my knight there, but maybe I can trick him into thinking that I am going to take it. But of course, my opponent is a real chess player, and he doesn't believe in that. So notice that his knight doesn't have any squares to move to, and my bishop is attacking it. And he just gave it to us for free. I thought that he would play g3 at least, ruin his pawn structure, but keeping his knight nonetheless. But here he simply gives us a free knight. So this game now is just a matter of time before it finishes. So we're gonna come here, protecting my nice little horsey on d4, in case that my opponent decides to do mean things to it later. But I must say, Mr. Bird Bard, it's not looking good for you, my friend. You are in a lot of trouble. So I think the main takeaway from this game is that he lost so many tempos by moving his knight back and forth. He went knight to g5, knight to f3, then knight to h4, where he eventually lost the knight. So in some kind of weird way, he did this to himself. So okay, let's develop my last piece. Put it on b7. Since now, if we can remove this pawn from the equation, we would have a very strong attack to the king. Okay, so my opponent keeps making weird illogical moves. So when people do that, we punish them. So again, I'm gonna ask him to go back to his home, since he doesn't have any good squares to go to. Notice that if the queen leaves this diagonal, knight to f3 check will come and we take the rook. So here we're getting we're getting to improve our position by just attacking the queen, and that's one of the main reasons why you don't bring the queen out too early, because you can simply attack it and improve your position while it moves around. Okay, and this obviously is just game over. And my opponent just keeps playing. It's okay. I honestly don't mind if people want to continue in lost situations. Okay, since there is nothing else to play for, I'm just going to trade as many pieces as I can. I'm going to put my king in safety now, since we're up not only a queen, but a queen and a rook. So if you ask me, this is as winning as you could possibly get. Okay, let's go for this move. Notice now that this will trap his bishop, so he needs to take, after which I'm going to take with my pawn and not my bishop, just so that I can open the e-file for my rooks to attack his king. At the same time, threatening the move to c4 after we capture him. So it's looking amazing. So this is a threat. This is a threat. Everything is a threat. And Mr. Bird, it looks like your time is running out as well. Finally, a good result with the Sicilian, I gotta say. I've been getting crushed the last few times I took it out for a spin. Okay, so here we're just going to attack this bishop. Notice how the bishop on b3, or is it a bishop or is it a pawn? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's a bishop or a pawn on b3. Looks like a bishop. Or maybe it looks like a very big pawn. All very interesting. Okay, so I'm going to take here. And then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to bring my other rook to the center. And notice that his king is going to have a very tough time finding any kind of cover whatsoever. So we're just going to give him a small little check here. Little tickle. Nothing too big. I don't want him to feel awkward. But a small little one, just so that he understands that we are here. Okay, and I am pretty sure that there's got to be some checkmate after rook takes. So I'm not going to actually calculate the move. I'm just going to make it. Because if there isn't a checkmate here, I will be so surprised. So king f2 is his only move. Actually, bishop e6 is a move, but come on. He's not going to do that. He's going to go king f2. Then queen here, check. And anywhere he goes, it's going to be checkmating one with queen to g2. So notice that at the end, everything that I said, if we remove those pawns from the center, my queen's going to have, there you go, queen to g2, checkmate. And with that, a 67-point game. Okay, let's take a look at how we did. So the game report here on chess.com is an amazing thing that they did for every player. It tells you where you went wrong. It gives you like the key moments. Okay, so we missed a win and we made a mistake. Ooh, I don't like that. But at least our accuracy was pretty high. So the computer is saying that it was smooth. It said that I had the advantage from start to finish. And I agree with that. I think the game was flawless. but I'm very intrigued to see where it is I made some inaccuracies. So, okay, all these moves are standard. So far, everything is good. D6, knight to f6, the best move. Here's when our opponent started wasting some time with his knights. Knight to g5 makes absolutely zero sense, since I just played h6 and I sent him back where he came from. So bishop to e7. So the computer is saying that b5 followed by bishop to e7. So it doesn't make any sense. You can just play either move in whatever order and it should be fine. I'm guessing that now he has the option of playing a4. That's why probably b5 first came. b5 first is it's not that bad. Okay, so yeah, notice how the computer is saying the rook e1 is a good move, but that a4 should have been played. Here again, I should have played b5, but instead I went for queen to c7 for the same idea, not to allow the move a4 to occur. So again, my opponent decides to go for a very risky maneuver with knight to h4. And notice that already we have quite a big advantage in the computer evaluation, as the computer is giving us a negative 1.25 advantage, which I think is quite significant. And I agree with it. My position is, I do prefer my position, for the simple fact that he keeps wasting all this time with his knight. So b5, I finally played the move the computer's been begging me to play. Knight to b3, and here comes knight to d4. And it is saying, the engine is saying that I gave away some of my advantage, that I should have played bishop to b7 instead. I honestly don't see anything wrong with the move I played. So, but here comes the final mistake. So it's the blunder by our opponent, from which it appears that we win a piece, and now I see what my mistake was. I wanted to win the piece by playing the move knight to d7, but it so happens that g5 just wins the piece. Now that I'm looking at it, since the computer is suggesting that I made a mistake by knight to d7, so g5 has to be the move. So it's saying, actually it's saying this, the computer is saying that I should take on b3, and after a takes b3, play b4, and after the knight moves, play g5. And I will be up a whopping 4 points. But okay, although this was a mistake, we're still pretty much in control. And our opponent just blundered here. And all right, from this moment on, I think the game simply was just way too easy to play. And of course, a free queen, who wouldn't take that? And this is just to finish the game. Okay, so the computer said I missed the win, that I should have gone for queen to d6 directly. Check. Of course, I saw that move, but I just thought bringing my rooks into the center didn't spoil anything, and I didn't. And here, after this check, it was a forced checkmate in 4 moves, which we, of course, were able to deliver. All right, so queen to g2 checkmate. I guess, like I said before, where opponent went wrong in this game was just the moving the pawn, the knight back and forth. And you should never do that until you finish your development and your king safety. All right, so I want to thank everybody for watching this video. If you liked it and you want to see more of them, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, stay safe, have a wonderful day, and always respect your opponents. See you next time.